Good morning, everyone. It feels so good to see everyone in this physical setting. For long, we have been having meetings in a virtual mode. So I think after a long time, we are having this kind of a meeting in the Big Bang conference room. And I'm sure even my Vice Chancellor would agree to what I'm saying. And we feel certainly delighted. And I take this opportunity to also welcome each one of you to this auspicious occasion. It's indeed historic and even a sort of an epoch-making occasion because we always wanted to have a collaboration with the ICRC and vice versa to develop awareness and capacity on areas of humanitarian action in a very comprehensive manner, and that means including not just international humanitarian law, but also all other areas that have interface with humanitarian law. And through this particular partnership, we envisage to build capacity and to contribute to the spaces on humanitarian studies so that we can go on to develop professionals who can work on this area. And one of the defining aspects of this collaboration is it's a multi-dimensional collaboration, and it's not just limited to joint activities in terms of a lecture series or research projects, so on and so forth. But we envisage to initiate and develop a Master of Arts program in Humanitarian Action and Policy in collaboration with the ICRC, and also a Master of Laws in International Humanitarian Law. And I may be corrected if in case I'm wrong, but this is perhaps one of the early occasions in this part of the world and region that the ICRC is collaborating to start a master's program. And historically, the ICRC has been collaborating with the Indian Society of International Law for a variety of its activities that includes a postgraduate diploma in IHL and also the yearbook on international humanitarian law and refugee law, of which I'm a part of in my capacity as office bearer at the Indian Society of International Law and also the chief advisor to the yearbook. But I'm so happy that here we are today getting into a comprehensive collaboration with the Jindal Global University, and the strengths of ICRC and also JGU, as JGU being a university with a focus on social sciences and humanities, they blend so well to achieve the objectives for which this collaboration is being entered into. And most importantly, the other defining aspect of the collaboration is our conversations which are ongoing with the Geneva Center for Humanitarian Studies in terms of developing the curriculum, and also having the Geneva Center on Humanitarian Studies as a partner to this entire endeavor. And I'm sure that with the strengths at the Jindal Global University, the ICRC, and the Geneva Center for Humanitarian Studies, which is affiliated both to the University of Geneva and the Graduate Institute for International Studies, will augur well for our partnership. And on this particular occasion, I also take a moment to sincerely thank the Vice Chancellor for his entire support and leadership on this particular project, and also to my colleague, Professor Samrat Sinha, who had driven this particular project ever since its inception in terms of ideation and also taking it further. And all the colleagues, and in particular the head of the delegation of ICRC, Mr. Yahya Elibi, Jan Miskoch, the deputy head, and Nawaz Kotwal, the entire idea and the entire purpose of this project is being driven by Nawaz. So we can't thank you enough. And today is the day on which we are going to sign the MoU and take our implementation plans ahead. Thank you once again and welcome to the university. And I'm also grateful to all the deans who joined us, the Dean of School of Public Policy, Environment and Sustainability, Liberal Arts, and also the Executive Dean of the School of International Affairs, and the Dean of the Office of International Affairs and Global Initiatives, and all my other colleagues who joined us this morning. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you, Vice Chancellor, Professor. colleagues, Professor Samrat and the deans. Welcome to this meeting. We are so proud and happy to be here today. It's also the first ever since the beginning of this pandemic, and it happens to be here. And we were really impressed now. Thank you for this short presentation about the infrastructure and the origin and the vision of the university, Jandal University. You know, the ICRC is one of the oldest organization, international organization on earth, and we have almost 160 years. And ever since the creation and of the ICRC, we have this specificity from the beginning. It's, I think, the birth of the ICRC was in the battlefield, and one of the objectives was to protect and assist the victims of armed conflicts. All the categories, civilian, military. It started by the military first. But from the beginning, and the founding father of the ICRC had this vision that the best protection is not to assist and protect, is also to build the consensus, international in that time, and on a set of rules, protecting first those who are helping and protecting civilians, and in general, all those who are not taking part to the hostilities or are no longer able to do it. This is the really founding principle. And this idea gave birth to what we call International Humanitarian Law, and the law of war, basically. And for, I think, decades, the ICRC was engaging with states to have, a minimum consensus around the first Geneva Conventions. And this was one track. The other track, it was to engage from the beginning with the academic, to develop and to promote and disseminate the basic rules of this body of law. And actually, we have been doing this since century now, decades, engaging with all academic higher education, because we believe that we cannot, there is this interplay between policy and between law. We are so happy to be here today, because I think in South Asia, we have been also since 82. And I will give the floor just for 1 minute to my colleague, Professor Umesh. He has been working with us since 30 years in South Asia. Please.
One of my responsibilities was to initiate the program, and then I identified some institutions which were, in the field of international law, well established, well known, and respected institutions. And one of them, as Dr. Patnaik mentioned, is Indian Society of International Law. And we started collaborating. We initiated, as he said, the moot competition, the yearbook, and the diploma program. I left New Delhi delegation in 2004, moved on to Southeast and East Asia, then to Africa. So I left it to my successors to continue and expand the program, and I am delighted after, say, more than 20 years to see how well the program has expanded and how my successors and colleagues have taken it forward. So it's always a delight, to see what you started has flourished and it has picked up and it has become very popular among students, amongst faculty. I gave you example of Indian society, but That is just one example. We started number of other programs. I don't want to go into the details. But the bottom line is the ICRC is committed to promote education in the field of humanitarian studies. Initially, we were focusing more on humanitarian law, but gradually we are now moving into humanitarian action and policy. So this opportunity to work closely with OP Jindal University was a unique opportunity for ICRC to develop a program, a master's program, I mean, at least to provide technical support to the university in view of the experience of ICRC, as Yahya said, more than 160 years of experience. And we want to utilize that experience to encourage academic institutions like this university to engage in humanitarian studies in different ways. Because today's students are tomorrow's policymakers. And if they are sensitized in these areas, their decision making will be well informed by the fundamentals, the essentials of these studies. So we have taken care to see that these ideas are reflected in the draft that we have prepared, and we look forward to continue our association with the university. Thank you very much.
I do think that the tripartite with the Geneva Center, which is a leading center for teaching humanitarian law and policy, would be very important and unprecedented, actually, because I learned that there is no such a diploma, postgraduate diploma in humanitarian action, law and policy in the whole South Asia. I really witnessed it when I was yet at the university, the flourishing, and they start everywhere at the academic circles in Europe to have this kind of diploma. You have it all at the European level, from Brussels to Germany to Hague to France, and of course to Geneva. But I have been working, I think, during decades in Africa, in the Middle East, and now in Asia for the second time. I never saw such a diploma postgraduate in the global South. I think it will be a good experience, and we are looking forward to sign this MoU and to make it happen and to engage in this sustainable partnership. And thank you again for your warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Samrat. And first of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our very distinguished delegation from the International Committee of the Red Cross. It's a very special occasion for us because since March 2020, we have not opened the campus physically. And barring a couple of regulatory related visits, we have not had any formal visit of any delegation from within India or abroad. So it's a very momentous occasion for us to welcome all of you, and I sincerely hope that this begins the marking of the opening of the university more physically for doing many more activities and initiatives. We were hoping to physically open the campus as well, and I sincerely hope we can still do that. Well, you know, as Mr. Yahya Alibi had mentioned, we have been discussing about the possibility of this collaboration for some time, and I'm very excited that those discussions have come to its logical conclusion, and today we are going to sign the Memorandum of Understanding. And I do think that in today's time, issues relating to the larger focus of what the ICRC has been doing for so long assumes a lot of significance, particularly for young people. We are, as we speak, witnessing the tragic evolution of the things in our neighborhood in Afghanistan. And one of the things that all of us learn, me as a lawyer, but also as thinking people, is that the fragility of peace and the constant effort to protect it should be a continuous endeavor. and all of us have a very important role to play. And I do believe that ICRC, for its effort to partner with an academic institution in India, I believe will give enormous opportunities for developing a number of activities, initiatives, including learning outcomes through this. The degree programs that are being launched is only one facet of the more wide-ranging collaborations we intend to establish, which should include, I believe, conferences and lectures and workshops and seminars and internship opportunities. It should also include research projects and joint research initiatives, collaborative endeavors with other institutions in South Asia and beyond. I think there's so much to be done in this field, and there is no better organization than the ICRC. I was very surprised to learn that ICRC has over 20,000 staff in 100 plus countries. I mean, obviously, and for over a century, and that only speaks volumes about the important influence it exerts, but also its credibility as an organization for it to be acceptable to countries around the world. So we are very excited that you're all here, and we are very excited that we are going to take this forward. I also want to mention very briefly about, I know we are slightly ahead of the schedule, this university was founded through a philanthropic initiative of our founding benefactor and chancellor, Mr. Naveen Jindal. And the idea of creating this university was to build a global university with a strong imagination for educational transformation in India. Hitherto, the larger vision of Indian higher education, starting from 1947 when we got our independence, was driven by the public imagination of public universities. At the dawn of Indian independence, we had nearly 20 universities, and now we have nearly 1,000 universities in India. And this extraordinary expansion of Indian higher education sector has seen a growth of all kinds of universities across India, and that unfortunately has led to significant deterioration when it comes to quality and academic standards. And the reality today is that we have these 1,000 universities and 40,000 colleges. Indian higher education system has over 30 million students being part of it, and will soon overtake China as well in that. So that is the sort of the larger scope of Indian higher education. But within that larger scope, the reality is that, and I'm very happy that the Indian International Committee of the Red Cross has chosen to collaborate with O.P. Jindal Global Universities, because Indian educational growth and evolution has been strongly focused on STEM and medicine. I belong to a place called Kanyakumari in South India and grew up in Chennai, and almost all my cousins are doctors and engineers. And if anybody who is a serious student aspires to do anything useful in life, he or she is expected to become a doctor or an engineer. And if you do fail to become a doctor or an engineer, you may end up becoming a chartered accountant. But the idea of pursuing law is unimaginable, unthinkable. I say this because I see the change that has happened in India, which is quite extraordinary. When I decided to study law in 1990s, when my relatives came to know that I'm going to pursue law, a lot of them turned up at my home unannounced and began to talk to my parents that what a tragedy that has hit our family. And they were deeply apologetic and expressed their strong sense of condolences that something so bad as me not becoming a doctor or an engineer happened. My mother is a doctor, my younger brother is a doctor, 22 cousins of mine are all doctors and engineers. So the fact that I decided to study law was simply unacceptable. And then, and the narrative was also quite favoring STEM disciplines only. And the fact that today, over 20 years later, when I look at it and when I look at our own university, we are an exclusively, liberal arts, humanities, social sciences, non-STEM, non-medicine. And there's some of my deans put a lot of pressure on me to go in the direction of sciences, and I resist it because There are enough institutions in India which do that, and we want to stay very strongly on humanities, social sciences, and focus on law and public policy and international relations and journalism and banking and finance and languages and the closest we are going is towards public health. But the reason I mention all of this is that this is a new imagination of Indian higher education. The fact that today over 70% of Indian higher education institutions are in the private sector, the fact that over 70% of Indian students are studying in private higher education institutions mean that there has been a tectonic shift in the landscape of higher education since the time I went to college. And so privatization of Indian higher education has dramatically transformed the landscape of higher education. The steady decline in the public financing of higher education has also contributed to the deterioration of standards that I talked about. But this is the reality we are living today, and it's important for us to embrace that reality and do our best in ensuring the type of academic institutions and standards that we want to set. In this context, collaboration becomes important. We have been pioneering the idea of global in India for a very long time now. Our middle name is Global, and we take that very seriously. We have substantive collaborations with over 300 universities spread across 65 countries in the world. Every year, over 400 of our students go abroad to pursue student exchange programs, dual degree programs, short-term study abroad programs, immersion programs, and other such things across the world. We partner with some of the leading universities in the world, including with Harvard and Columbia and Berkeley and Oxford and Sciences and Wharton and many other institutions simply around the world. And we very, very doggedly pursue the idea of collaboration, bringing, essentially taking India and Jindal to the whole world. But we don't stop at that. We have also been able to focus on bringing the world to India. Just imagine for a moment that in this sleepy village of Sonipat, in Jagdishpur village in Haryana, today we have over 100 of our full-time faculty members from 42 countries in the world studying and living here, who have made Sonipat as their home. And so this is a radical transformation of Indian higher education that we have played a very small part and role, and I do believe that this is only going to become bigger and better. And the reason it is going to become bigger and better is that the demographic situation in India is out there for us to see. 850 million people in India are less than 35 years of age, when most parts of the Western world, including Eastern world in China and Japan, will become older. India will be younger and will be younger for a longer time. The life expectancy at the dawn of independence was approximately 35 to 40, and now it is 70 plus, which means that young Indians, I do believe, are not only going to shape the future of India, but will be shaping the future of the world. That means it's important for us as educators to provide them with the knowledge, the expertise, the skills, and most importantly, the inspiration to imagine the world that they are going to be part of and contribute towards its advancement in all its forms and manifestations. A critical part of it is to advance the cause of peace, to appreciate the importance of pluralism, to recognize the need for protecting the rule of law, to recognize the importance of justice, and to contribute towards strengthening these institutions which are promoting those causes. These are not small things that we can take it for granted, and that's why we need to do things together and we need to collaborate in this manner. So with those words, I want to say that we are very, very excited to welcome the International Committee of the Red Cross, and this is just the beginning. I have always been very conscious of the fact that the signing of MoU is a very important moment in every institution's evolution, but it is also equally a moment for us to be responsible, because there are MoUs in universities are very notorious. Most of the time when university departments try to locate where the MoUs are after they have got signed, within few weeks they disappear. And then within few months, nobody remembers where they are. and within few years, one does not even know who were part of that effort. We have consciously taken effort to ensure that every MOU that we sign is meaningful, has an impact on the life of a faculty, a student, advancing teaching or research or anything that will be adding value to the experience of an institution. So let us begin with that commitment that we will work together to implement the Memorandum of Understanding, work towards specifically addressing some of the elements of the MOU so that we can actually see real change and impact that emerges out of the MOU itself. Once again, I want to congratulate our distinguished members of the delegation of the ICRC, starting with Mr. Yahya Alibi, Mr. Jan Miskok, and of course other members of the delegation who are present here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jan Miskot. I'm a deputy head of regional delegation of the ICRC. And thank you very much for this great and warm welcome and the introduction to Jindal Global University. It is so refreshing after this year of COVID-related issues that we have all been facing. For us as well, it's the first time after a very long time that we can be in such a setting, physically seeing our interlocutors and partners. So thank you very much for that. During the presentation, we have actually been discussing and saying that it gives us all the feeling that we would be very happy to sit again in an auditorium and become students. We have seen a great vision that the Jindal Global University has for the future, and we are very proud to be here today for the signing ceremony of this MOU. As for my background, I'm Czech and French citizen. After my studies, I studied business, finance, international economics. So not law, not engineering, and not medicine either.
Good for you.
Yeah, well, this is what I thought, you know. So I started in the private business, private sector, working in management consultancy, also, you know, for big corporations. While doing that, I also traveled as a private person to many parts of the world. And I realized that this world probably needs a little bit of humanity to be introduced, and there's never enough of it. So that brought me to the humanitarian sector, starting to work with the various small NGOs and organizations before I ended up with the ICRC. And I still think that there is not enough humanity in the world, and we still need to contribute to bringing it in. And of course, now I've been to India for almost 1 year, and I have not seen India outside of the COVID situation. And even this pandemic, I think, taught us many important lessons. I think that being in India, as ICRC, we really would like India to contribute to helping us bring this bit of humanity to the world. And our partnership with Jindal Global University is definitely one step that we would like to take in that direction. And we will be very proud if you could help us with that. So that's all from me, and then please back to you. Thank you.